What if the most dangerous weapon in the Strait of Hormuz wasn't a missile, but a signal? Imagine commanding a modern warship equipped with some of the most advanced sensors ever built. Your radar appears normal. Your navigation system insists you're on course. Digital maps continue updating without interruption. Every screen in front of you suggests that everything is working exactly as designed. Except none of it is true. In modern warfare, destroying an enemy's ship is no longer the only objective. Sometimes the greater victory is convincing that ship to make the wrong decision entirely on its own. That possibility has transformed one of the world's most strategically important waterways into something far more dangerous than a narrow shipping lane. It has become one of the most contested electromagnetic battlefields on Earth. The Strait of Hormuz carries a significant share of the world's seaborne oil exports and serves as the only maritime gateway between the Persian Gulf and the open ocean. Every day, commercial tankers, container ships, naval task groups, patrol vessels, and civilian traffic pass through waters that leave very little room for error. Geography alone makes the strait strategically valuable. Technology has made it even more vulnerable. For decades, military planners viewed control of this region largely through the lens of naval power. Aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, and anti-ship missiles dominated discussions about deterrence. But the evolution of precision navigation, satellite communications, and network command systems has quietly shifted the balance. Today's fleets depend on information just as much as armor or firepower. If that information becomes unreliable, even the strongest navy can suddenly find itself operating under extraordinary pressure. Electronic warfare has therefore become one of the defining features of modern military competition, rather than physically attacking ships. Sophisticated electronic systems attempt to interfere with radar, disrupt communications, jam satellite navigation, or deceive onboard sensors into presenting false information. The goal is often not destruction but confusion. A commander uncertain about what is real is already operating at a disadvantage. The challenge becomes especially serious inside confined waterways such as the Strait of Hormuz. Unlike the open ocean, where vessels have room to maneuver, narrow sea lanes compass every decision. Commercial shipping follows designated traffic separation schemes. Naval escorts operate alongside civilian vessels, and even minor navigational errors can have significant consequences. In such an environment, reliable positioning, communications, and situational awareness become essential. This reality has attracted growing attention from military analysts around the world. Rather than focusing exclusively on missiles positioned along the Iranian coastline, researchers increasingly examine another layer of capability: the electromagnetic spectrum. Signals cannot be seen. They leave no smoke, they produce no explosion, yet they may influence events long before the first shot is ever fired. Public reporting over the past decade has documented numerous incidents involving satellite navigation interference across various regions of the world. Commercial pilots, merchant captains, and military operators have all reported episodes in which GPS signals became unreliable or appeared inconsistent with actual positions. While the causes differ from case to case and attribution is often difficult, such incidents illustrate how dependent modern transportation has become on invisible infrastructure. Military forces have prepared for this possibility for years. Modern naval crews routinely train under conditions where satellite navigation is unavailable. Officers practice celestial navigation, inertial navigation procedures, manual plotting, visual bearings, and alternative communication methods precisely because they recognize that sophisticated adversaries may attempt to deny access to electronic systems during a crisis. In other words, losing GPS is no longer viewed as an unlikely emergency. It is considered an operational expectation. That shift reflects a much broader transformation in military thinking. During much of the 20th century, success at sea depended largely on who possessed more ships, bigger guns, or longer range missiles. Today, many strategists argue that information superiority has become equally decisive. The side capable of seeing first, understanding first, and reacting first often gains an advantage that outweighs traditional measures of strength. Electronic warfare fits directly into that competition. Rather than destroying expensive platforms, it seeks to undermine the networks that allow those platforms to function effectively. This approach offers several strategic advantages. Electronic interference can often remain below the threshold of open conflict. Signals may be disrupted without obvious physical evidence. Attribution can be difficult. Technical malfunctions may initially resemble equipment failures rather than deliberate attacks. Decision-makers therefore face uncertainty at precisely the moment they require clarity. That ambiguity complicates escalation. Responding to a missile launch is relatively straightforward. Responding to unexplained interference in the electromagnetic spectrum is far more complicated. For governments operating in sensitive regions such as the Persian Gulf, this ambiguity creates both opportunities and risks. No single country holds a monopoly on electronic warfare capabilities. Major military powers, including the United States, Russia, China, and several regional actors, have invested heavily in systems designed to monitor, disrupt, protect, or manipulate the electromagnetic environment. Much of that capability remains classified, but enough has entered public discussion to demonstrate how central it has become to modern military planning. The Strait of Hormuz, therefore, represents more than a geographic choke point. It is an arena where technology, geography, economics, and military strategy converge. Every commercial tanker passing through carries enormous economic value. Every naval deployment signals political commitment. Every radar emission, satellite transmission, or radio broadcast becomes part of an invisible contest unfolding alongside ordinary maritime traffic. Most people watching the evening news never see this competition because it rarely produces dramatic images. There are no explosions visible from space, no columns of smoke rising above the horizon. Instead, the struggle unfolds through algorithms, antennas, frequencies, and computer networks operating silently behind the scenes. Yet those invisible systems increasingly determine whether visible military power can function at all, and that raises a larger question. The future conflicts are decided not only by missiles but by information, not only by ships but by signals. Then perhaps the most valuable battlefield is no longer the sea itself. Perhaps the real battle begins inside the invisible spectrum surrounding every vessel long before anyone realizes the contest has already started. If the first phase of a modern naval confrontation is fought with information rather than firepower, then the obvious question becomes this: how do you defend against an enemy you cannot see? Unlike missiles, electronic attacks rarely announce themselves. There is no launch warning, no radar rack racing across the sky, and often no immediate evidence that an attack is even underway. A navigation error might look like equipment failure. A disrupted communication link might resemble atmospheric interference. A delayed data feed could simply be dismissed as a software glitch. That uncertainty is precisely what makes the electromagnetic spectrum such a powerful battlefield. Modern navies therefore approach electronic warfare as a constant contest rather than a single event. Every deployment assumes that satellites may become unavailable, communications may be degraded, and navigation systems may be challenged. Crews regularly train under degraded conditions, switching between multiple navigation methods, cross-minus checking sensor data, and verifying information from independent sources instead of relying on a single digital display. Redundancy has become as important as firepower. Warships now combine satellite navigation with inertial navigation systems, radar mapping, visual observations, encrypted communications, and increasingly sophisticated data fusion software. None of these systems is expected to be perfect on its own. Their strength comes from comparing multiple streams of information until a consistent operational picture emerges. But this technological race has no finish line. As defensive systems improve, offensive electronic capabilities evolve alongside them. Advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, signal processing, and autonomous systems are changing the pace of electronic warfare. Computers can now analyze enormous of radio-frequency data far faster than human operators, identifying anomalies, recognizing interference patterns, and recommending responses within seconds. The contest is becoming less about individual pieces of equipment, more about decision speed. Who can recognize deception first? Who can verify reality faster? Who can restore confidence before uncertainty spreads through an entire command network? Those questions increasingly shape military planning across the globe. For the United States and its allies, protecting freedom of navigation through critical waterways remains a long-standing strategic objective. For regional powers, demonstrating the ability to influence those same waterways serves as an important element of deterrence. Neither objective necessarily requires direct military confrontation. Sometimes the message is communicated simply by demonstrating technological capability. That is one reason military analysts pay such close attention to developments in electronic warfare. Capabilities that appear defensive during peacetime may become highly consequential during periods of crisis. Systems originally designed for surveillance may support targeting. Navigation interference intended as a warning could be interpreted as the opening phase of escalation. Because so many activities occur below the threshold of armed conflict, political leaders must often make decisions with incomplete information. History shows that misunderstandings in such environments can become dangerous very quickly. A commercial vessel experiencing unexpected navigation problems may request military assistance. A naval commander receiving conflicting sensor information may increase alert levels out of caution. Aircraft operating nearby may alter flight paths. Additional forces may enter the region to reassure allies or protect shipping. Each decision may appear reasonable on its own. Together, they can gradually increase tension without either side intending to start a wider confrontation. This is why professional military organizations devote enormous effort to communication protocols, to conflict tie-on procedures, and crisis management. Preventing accidental escalation is often just as important as preparing for deliberate conflict. The Strait of Hormuz illustrates that challenge better than almost anywhere else. Its importance extends far beyond regional politics. Energy markets, global supply chains, insurance costs, commodity prices, and international shipping all respond to perceptions of stability within this relatively narrow corridor. Even temporary disruptions can influence markets thousands of miles away, reminding governments that strategic geography continues to shape the modern economy. Yet geography alone no longer determines security. Technology now overlays every map with an invisible network of satellites, fiber-optic cables, communications links, radar systems, and digital infrastructure. Controlling that network has become almost as important as controlling the sea itself. That broader lesson reaches well beyond the Persian Gulf. Whether in the Black Sea, the Baltic, the South China Sea, or the Western Pacific, military planners increasingly assume that future operations will begin with cyber activity, electronic interference, and information competition before conventional weapons are employed, if they are employed at all. In many respects, the opening moments of tomorrow's conflicts may already be unfolding today. Hidden within routine exercises, technological development, and constant competition below the level of open warfare. This does not mean conflict is inevitable. On the contrary, understanding these capabilities can strengthen deterrence by encouraging preparation, resilience, and clear communication between states. The better militaries understand the vulnerabilities of the electromagnetic environment, the greater the incentive to develop safeguards that reduce the risk of dangerous miscalculation. Ultimately, the future of naval power may depend less on who builds the largest fleet and more on who can maintain reliable information when everything else becomes uncertain. A warship without accurate information is not powerless, but it is forced to slow down, verify, question, and hesitate. In the military strategy, hesitation can become an opportunity for an opponent. That is why the struggle for the electromagnetic spectrum deserves far more attention than it usually receives. It lacks the dramatic imagery of missiles and fighter aircraft, yet it influences nearly every aspect of modern military operations. Invisible signals now connect command centers, guide precision weapons, coordinate naval formations, and sustain global communications. Protecting those signals has become a strategic priority for every major military power. The next generation of maritime competition may therefore be remembered not only for the ships that sailed or the missiles that launched, but for the unseen contest over information itself. Because in the 21st century, victory may belong not to the side that fires first, but to the side that sees clearly while everyone else is struggling to understand what is real. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of the Strait of Hormuz. The future of warfare will not be decided solely by steel, explosives, or the number of ships at sea. It will increasingly be shaped by something invisible: the ability to protect information, deny deception, and maintain trust in the systems that modern militaries depend upon every second of every day. Long before history records the first missile fired, the decisive battle may already have begun in silence.